Hello, Explore.org and bat fans. This is Rob Mies from the Organization for Bat Conservation's new home in Pontiac, Michigan. We just moved. This is the first time we're broadcasting live from the new bat zone, a 10,000 square foot space for these amazing animals. I've got this really cool head next to me, this bust of a spear nose for kids to touch, for adults to touch. And this completely relates to our leaf-nosed bats that we have in captivity. And I want to thank all of you who donated and made it possible that we had a chance to save the bats that are behind me. The bats that are behind me, the Save the Shorties, Save the Shorties campaign were saved because you donated and you helped us. The bats behind me were part of a great research project, but unfortunately that research project ended, and after years, bats live for decades. How long do bats live? 30 to 40 years. And the bats behind me, these amazing leaf-nosed bats, needed a home, and without a home, they were going to be euthanized. Not something that the researchers wanted to do, but the research funding ended. You stepped up, we stepped up, and together we saved these bats. I'm going to walk in right now. Amanda G's on the camera. Phil's helping out. We're going to show you the bats as I walk in there, as they fly past me. Let's take a look. You going to come with me?
Oh yeah.
Nice. Okay. All right, Amanda's going to walk in with me. It's going to be even better. All right, here we go. Now we're going to go into the first containment, so the bats can fly. Am I too big in the camera? Okay. Come on. We're going to go into the first containment. Now we're going to go into the second containment. Amanda's going to get set up. Oh my gosh, so cool. This is a really big enclosure, glass enclosure. We've got some really fun things for them to play on, some branches. This Explore.org has been great helping us to fit these amazing enclosures with habitat that they love. Watch as I walk. Okay, the bats that are flying all around us right now are called short-tailed fruit bats, or Ceba's short-tailed fruit bats. They are one of the key animals in Latin America for a healthy rainforest. And the reason why is because they eat piper plants and other types of trees. Now, I got it perfect. Okay, here's a tree, and here's a piper plant that's sticking out. And these little bats are flying by, and they grab the piper plant, and they fly away and go to eat it. Well, they have this huge nose that they echolocate from. That's what they're doing right now. They're echolocating. We can't hear the echolocation, but trust me, they're doing it. You can also see they're not flying in my hair, they're not getting caught, they're not flying on me, they're not drinking my blood. These are fruit eaters, and they also spread seeds, and they pollinate plants. So when they grab that fruit, their mouth is full. Just like us grabbing an apple, and then our mouth is full. Well, then they fly somewhere else, they go eat it. Well, as they're flying around eating it, they are going to the bathroom. Within 10 or 11 minutes, they eat, they go to the bathroom, or they drop some of those seeds. Well, those seeds then, either through their mouth or through their rear end, are dropped all over cleared rainforest. These bats, these beautiful little bats, are important because they bring in 90% of the initial seeds into a cleared rainforest. So these little bats right here, I'm going to show you one up close. Hi, buddy. There we go. These little bats right here bring in 90% of the initial seeds into a cleared rainforest. So we need these bats because they are so critical at making sure seeds are spread all over the rainforest and pollinating plants as well. Let's head out of this area and we're going to go and see the bigger bats too. Okay, here we go. All right. Besides these really cool bats that we just walked in and saw, the leaf-nosed bats, again, thank you so much for helping them. About 70 bats came to us. They've got this brand new flighted enclosure that they get to fly around in and live the rest of their life with us. We also get a chance. Phil's gonna be in the. Phil's gonna be in the behind-the-scenes people. All right. We also get a chance to talk to people about our local bats, our small insect-eating bats, similar to what we have, what I just showed you. But they don't have a big leaf nose. They've got a flatter nose, and they echolocate from their mouth. We also talk about bat houses and putting up bat houses, giving bats a warm, safe, dry place to raise their babies. We also do have a bigger enclosure. I don't see anybody kind of moving around right now, but this is almost twice the size of an enclosure for our sloth, who's up sleeping right now in the red hammock. Unfortunately, he's not too awake right now. And then we get a chance to go over and see the big bats, the tropical bats. So the three key things we're always teaching people, and please do the same thing, is that bats eat tons of bugs. They're the primary predators of nighttime insects. They pollinate plants, avocados, bananas, and blue agave that we make tequila from, only pollinated by bats. And they spread seeds. And they spread seeds of plants all over the tropical rainforest. The seeds are spread by bats. So we have a depiction of that. One of our amazing volunteers, Kira, and behind the scenes, Amanda. These are our bats in the rainforest, but painted. So these murals, people get a chance to see as they come into the new bat zone, but they depict where the bats would naturally be flying around in Africa or in Asia. So let's go and see Africa and Asia. I absolutely love this area. First off, you can hear their sounds. This is one of the enclosures, the female enclosure that you see all the time and watch Camilla. I'm sorry for those of you that when I take her on programs on the road, I'm sorry you don't get a chance to see her, but people see her up close. And then behind me, right here, is Tom. And Tom, oh, hi Tom. These are the male bats, and so obviously we separate our males and females because they do breed pretty prolifically and efficiently. Let's go in there because I want you to see what we've been working on for these amazing animals as well. So you go past me, Amanda, and wait till you see how cool these vines. Look at this. So let's come over here. Look at the Egyptian fruit bat hanging off this. There we go. So we have our normal bowls right in here, but we have these really cool vine baskets now that the bats land on and can climb around on. We also have these branches, kind of like vines, and the vines, they crawl across. We've got a strangler fig over here that they can hide behind, that we also clip on their food and have to crawl down. So we're always thinking of ways that we can enrich their brains, enrich their behavior, enrich their lives here, but also their physical lives too. So both their mental and their physical is very important to the health of the bats here. You all know, look at how great, look at the bats have been eating so well. You know, some of you who are on the Pacific time, these bats have been eating for many hours so far today. But you can see we put on melons and bananas, and the bats behind me, look at this straw-colored fruit bat over here. He's got a big piece of melon in his mouth. Can you get pretty close? All right. Yeah. Straw-colored fruit bats are from Africa, and these are also, just like our leaf-nosed bats, in Africa, this kind of bat right here is considered a keystone species. That means it's so important on the continent of Africa at spreading seeds that the rainforest would be drastically different without the bats. I know that I talked way too much. Phil, do we have some questions yet?
Sure thing.
Okay.
Actually, let's go ahead with this one since we were talking about it.
Sure.
You've been experimenting with different branch-like structures in the fruit bat enclosure. Is there any chance of a shelf-like structure or hammock in the corner for aging fruit bats to lounge on?
That's a great question, and the question would be, for aging bats, would they use like hammocks or something like that? And yes, we have used some of those. We have put some of these things also in the hammock kind of shape, but most of the bats, really, even if they're older, they would far more prefer to have a, kind of that hanging vertical versus a horizontal. But if some of you remember when Fred was with us, we did provide him, as he was considerably older than some of our bats, with a hammock, and he did really like it. So we'll keep adding those when needed, for sure.
What can we do as a population to help bats?
Well, some things that we can do as a population to help bats would include educating people. So, getting them on explore.org so they learn more about bats and other animals, teaching them that bats eat tons of insects, they pollinate plants, and they spread seeds, and putting up a bat house. Putting up a bat house in your backyard, in your neighborhood, or in your community gives bats a healthy place to raise their babies. All right, so this guy right here, this is Tom. Tom did a great job this past weekend. We were in Minneapolis at the first ever Minnesota Bat Festival, and we had 3,000 people show up for one day. 3,000 people. This weekend, we're going to be in Milwaukee at the Mitchell Park Conservatory, the domes. They're these cool glass domes with biospheres, basically, little ecosystems inside of glass. So that's this weekend, this Saturday. Come and visit us in Milwaukee. We also have more bat festivals next month in Terre Haute, in Indiana, and then also in Michigan, in Detroit, too. How about some more questions?
When I visited, Ian told us about all the things Pontiac is doing for OBC. Could you let everyone else know the great welcoming you've gotten?
Sure, absolutely. So we're in Pontiac. One of the coolest things is that we're part of an urban revival. And even we're looking at it as urban bats and urban bat revival. We need to make sure that people here understand that bats are important to our ecosystem in a city. That in Denver, they know, and in New York that they know, and in Chicago that they know. So bats are an important part because, again, they eat tons of insects. We've been so welcomed into Pontiac from Goldner Walsh, the gardening supply. They've donated plants to us. They hosted a fundraiser. We've also been working with, we'll be working with one of the biggest Halloween. So we're gonna, it's a, what do we call that? A
haunted house.
Haunted house, yes. During Halloween, a huge haunted house called Erebus, and they are going to be helping to promote bats as well. But the mayor, the local business people, and even the local residents putting up bat houses, telling people all about it, and coming out. You know, when they $7 to come and see all these amazing animals, and you get an hour-long walk with a guided, educated staff person that takes some of the bats out and tells you all about what we can learn about them. Let's start to walk out a little bit too. How about more?
Another question. Let's see here. How are the shorties adjusting to the new environment?
So, I want to talk about the adjustment of all the animals here, and we were all incredibly happy with how they adjusted to the move. First off, we did move them into larger enclosures, and so they have more space. We've added more wonderful naturalistic, we call it furniture, but look inside here. We've got this is the girls. This is the female enclosure that you get a chance to watch all the time, and so we're now looking at it from the outside. Straw-colored fruit bats. Camilla's over there. She's all wrapped up in her wings like a cloak, all wrapped up. But they have adapted so well. All the animals did incredibly well over the 2-week period that we were moving. And then I want to start to kind of wrap up in the front too. Go ahead, Phil.
Next question we have is, What other types of animals do you rescue?
Sure. So primarily we're working with bats, but we do have other nocturnal animals. So we have our sloth, we have skunks, we have owls, flying squirrels, but it's almost entirely with bats. Something that I do want to mention, some of you might be watching that you're on this list, but if you would like to help donate to the Bat Zone and to helping permanently take care of these wonderful animals, contact us. You can go on our website, batconservation.org, savethebats.org, and you can make a donation. You can also sponsor our animals. And then lastly, one of the things that I always love about OBC is we have the coolest stuff for sale. You know, our new t-shirts, I call it purple. What do we call this?
Eggplant is
maroon. Eggplant? Eggplant it is.
Yeah.
Eggplant. We've got these new, these are called little brown bats. They seem much larger than a little brown bat, but they are little brown bats flying around eating insects. We have a new bat house that's built right here in Pontiac from recycled and repurposed barn wood. We also had the same carpenter make our benches, so when people come in, we tell everybody, look at these wonderful benches. These were made from repurposing materials. We've got our plants from Goldner Walsh, and we have lots of other cool stuff from t-shirts and mugs and books. The latest, I know probably a lot of you have, are the laminated field guides that I wrote to the bats of North America East and North America West. So we have a lot of cool stuff, and that money, just like if you bought something from National Wildlife Federation or from your local zoo, that money goes back into helping our bats. We use that to help feed our animals and pay our employees and keep the lights on. But how about more questions, Phil?
Will OBC be able to offer other injured flying foxes a home at the Bat Zone as ambassadors in the future?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the main reasons why we moved here was we have more capacity to take injured or orphaned or elderly bats from especially zoos. Obviously we don't have big flying foxes running wild or flying wild here in North America. They're found in Africa, Southeast Asia, and Australia. But if they are injured or orphaned or elderly in captivity, we have the capacity to take them here. We also now have a much larger facility. We have a classroom upstairs that seats over 50 people. We have a huge kitchen that the animal keepers get a chance to use. So we moved from a 2,000 square foot space to a 10,000 square foot space. So our capacity is through the roof, and we are absolutely thrilled.
What is the biggest bat that you have here?
The biggest bat we have is Tom or Camilla. They're both Malayan flying foxes. They weigh about 1,500 to 1,600 grams, which is about 3 pounds. And in the wild, they have between a 5 and 6 foot wingspan. They are the biggest species ever recorded in the wild.
Why do bats hang upside down?
Bats hang upside down because their hips are so thin they can't hold up their upper body. And so a bat has to hang upside down because it can't stand right side up.
And let's see here, got a couple more coming in.
Okay.
What is the #1 myth about bats?
The #1 myth about bats is probably that bats really aren't worth anything, that they're vermin, that they should be killed and gotten rid of. But in fact, they're one of the most economically important bats in our ecosystem. Our bats eat tons of insects. They're the primary predators of nighttime insects. They save U.S. farmers billions of dollars annually, and around the world, $1 billion is protected and saved to just corn farmers because bats love eating corn earworm moths. I'm telling you, bats are so important to us, and when people don't know that, that's the biggest problem and the biggest myth for bats.
How is climate change affecting the populations?
Climate change is an issue, and I think we need to have a real longer Facebook Live about this. Let's put that on our list because there is some really good information coming out now. But drier, that's a big problem because if you have less water, us mammals need water. Hotter in Australia, 117 degrees, and the fruit bats are dying because they're overheating. So yes, we do have some climate change issues that we need to get a hold of to even save our bats as well. All right, one more question before we finish up.
All right, our final question is, how about we end with, do bats attack people?
Do bats attack people? Bats will defend themselves. So, if you see a bat on the ground, like a little vampire bat, you reach down to pick it up, it's going to bite to protect itself. Does a bat fly around and attack you? Only in the movies, never in reality. You wouldn't pet a stray dog or cat or a raccoon or a skunk. Don't pet a bat, don't bring it home as a pet, leave it there. If it's injured, call your local animal control. They'll come and capture it, have it tested just in case, or they'll get it to a nature center where they can get it some help. All right, last thing again is check out our website, Save the Bats, or batconservation.org. You can donate, you can buy t-shirts and mugs. This one is my favorite one right here. I love how big it is, and it gets coffee or beer or lemonade, iced tea. Bat hats. I wear the bat hats all the time. I can even send you this one. It's all sweaty already. Anyway, thank you so much. You are all amazing people. Thank you for caring, being educated, loving our animals, and teaching other people. So thank you. We'll be in touch soon. We'll do another live Facebook next month. Bye.